Good afternoon. It is 4:50 on Thursday, April 11th, and this is the meeting of the City Council's Buildings Committee. My name is William Lutz. To my left is Councilman Bobby Phillips, and to my right is Councilwoman Robin Oda. This afternoon, we're going to be talking about making a recommendation to Council on surplus property, and I believe Audrey will be doing the presentation this afternoon. Audrey, please come forward.
Her sister, Aubrey.
Aubrey, I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's okay. So in 2015, the city purchased what was known as the Hewells Camp Farm, which at the very north end of that property, there was a home and several outbuildings. We always intended when we purchased the property that the home and the outbuildings would then eventually be sold off to offset some of the cost of purchasing the property. We presented this to Park Board after talking to the park superintendent as well as Mr. Titterington. We've decided that we don't have any need for it, nor does the park department. The Park Board unanimously recommended that this be declared a surplus, and we're asking that you support that recommendation.
Excellent. Any questions? Mr. Phillips?
Well, just a correction. Initially, this was going to be part of the maintenance buildings, and they were going to potentially use that for storage of vehicles or office or other things. So, but that was initially what we had talked about. However, that evolved after an assessment. Use that word assessment.
That was one of the potential uses, and they evaluated and said no thanks.
Correct. Okay, just wanted to correct that. Okay. Sorry.
Any other questions? Mrs. Oda.
I do have a question. So this bumps right up against the other properties that are along Troy Piqua Road, or Troy Sidney Road, whatever it is. How does the city access their property behind that?
They would not access, behind it, do you mean north of the farm or south of the farm? South of the farm, if you look.
Oh, this right here.
West.
Oh, well, so.
Access it through Duke?
They could access it through Duke, and just south of the property that would be sold is a lane that continues to be the city's. And so as part of the long-range plans, one of the options was that could be a north entrance there, but it would be south of the farmhouse.
And we decided it was too much money to renovate those buildings to use them?
Correct.
Any other questions?
I do not know.
What was the original source of funds to purchase the property to begin with?
So the purchase of the property was approximately $1.5 million. We received several grants in the amount of, I want to say eight to 900,000, somewhere in there. We received a Robinson Foundation grant. We received a Duke Foundation grant, and we received funds from the Miami County Park District, who received Ohio Department of Natural Resources funds to sell them the portion along the river, which is in the floodway and which is now in a permanent conservation easement.
Okay. In any of those grants, are there any clawback provisions on which, if we sold the property, any of those gross proceeds have to go back to the grantors?
No, not as far as the farmhouse goes. The only one that has any restrictions on it is the county, the Park District property, because it must remain in unbuilt and natural. But that is their issue since they bought it from us.
And those have the easements on it, correct?
Yes,
okay.
That's correct. Those are recorded as conservation easements.
Do we know what the proceeds of this sale will go to?
So we have an appraisal on the property. We would offer it at we would have a minimum bid, and when we'll evaluate any bids that come in to see if they've exceeded the minimum or if they're close. So we have some flexibility there. Once, and talking to the county auditor, the city auditor, not the county auditor. The intention would probably be to deposit those funds in the Park and Recreation Capital Fund.
Okay,
So it would only be used most likely for any future improvements to Duke Park.
okay,
One of which is the need to move, to build a new park maintenance building away from the arena and on Duke Park property near their other barns.
yeah, I just think it's really important that, you know, if we're getting revenue generated from the park, that those revenues we do everything we can to keep those revenues within that park.
Sure. Just keep in mind, and that's kind of our thinking, because we're trying to look long-term, knowing that we've got this master plan that we want to implement eventually for Duke Park. You asked what the sources of funds to purchase the 1.5 million. I came up with 900,000 of it. The other 600,000 came from the general fund.
Okay.
So that's why the original thought as one of the options was we can use this sale to offset that 600,000, but paying it forward and keeping it in the park is part of the strategy.
Okay. Any other questions from committee members?
How much was in grants, did you say, 900?
I want to say approximately I'd say 800 to 900. I can get that number.
Okay.
I have no further questions.
Any other council members? President Baker is making her way to the podium.
On the map that we have, just to the north of that property, it appears that there are like 7 smaller lots there. What is the intention for those? Is there building plans for those, or what's the intention of those?
No, those are already, they have buildings on them.
They're already
Those are
homes
private
along
residences,
there?
yes.
Oh, private property, okay. I didn't know how much of that was the park and how much it was, yeah,
No,
okay.
those are separate.
Those are
lots.
already separate, okay, thank you.
Mr. Kendall, Mr. Terwilliger, any questions?
No, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, any questions? At this point, what would the committee like to do?
Let's go ahead and proceed as staff has recommended here.
I'm good with that.
Okay. You have a unanimous recommendation to move forward.
Thank you.
No further business for the Buildings Committee. We stand adjourned.